tall, dark, and handsome. You're charming and then.
Oh my God.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I wanted to just kind of get right into. Well, first say congratulations for
Thank you.
contributing to a Grammy-nominated album. That's a huge, huge win. But before we kind of get into the album, I want to talk to you about your career and like your relationship with music and how that began.
Well, I mean, I started playing. My parents put me in piano lessons when I was 4, and I played classical piano all growing up, and I played in the church a lot. We went to we were in a Southern Baptist community, so there was a lot of music in the church, and all my siblings played, so it was kind of like just the way I grew up, like singing hymns and playing for the offertories and praise and worship type of stuff. So it like always kind of felt natural. We weren't allowed to listen to secular music at all growing up. So my parents were pretty conservative, and so I'm from Oklahoma, originally Tulsa, Oklahoma, and when Hanson came out with Bop in 98 or 99, I was like, oh my God, it was like candy. I just loved it. It was like the best, most heavenly thing I'd ever heard. And like still to this day, when I hear Bop, I get like this crazy feeling. But it was like my first exposure to pop music, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I wanted to write like that. Like I wanted to write those things. So I wasn't allowed to listen to it, so I would just write it on my own. I would write lyrics, or I would like even take hymns and change the lyrics and make them like bad.
But keep like the melody, keep the tune.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I would like record them on cassette tapes. And I still have I have a bunch of those cassette tapes still. But it was just kind of like a natural thing for me. It wasn't really a decision.
Okay. And from there, how did things progress?
Well, I started performing live. I moved out to Los Angeles in 2004 and started performing my own songs live. And since then, I've been in various bands. And about 4 years ago, I started writing solely for other people. I started writing with Michelle Branch, and she was just such an amazing experience. She took me into her favorite producers, and her melodies are so good, and she would kind of let me write the lyrics. Like she would explain what she wanted the song to be about, and I would write it out like a letter or a short story, and we would share a Google document. And then if she liked something, or I said something that she would have said in her words, she would keep that and then just kind of structure it to go with her melody. And it was so fun. We wrote for her last album, Hopeless Romantic, we wrote eight of those songs together.
Wow.
So, and then I was like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do.
And how did that lead up to Kelly? Was it just building more relationships, being in more rooms, or?
The thing with Kelly was actually an accident. I'd started writing with Molly Kate Kessner. I'm serious. I'd started writing with Molly Kate Kessner. Gabs Landman put me in touch with her, and I love her. She's just an incredible artist and writer. And we actually wrote the first song, Slow Dance, for Molly. It was like an actual story that she had from her past, where some guy liked her and he was moving too fast, and she was just like, slow down, slow down. And we wrote that song really quickly with Nick Ruth. And I remember we were trying to get in and out of the studio quickly. I think Molly wasn't feeling well or something, and I didn't really think anything of it. I mean, the song is in 6/8, and I've never, like, most people don't really gravitate toward that as like a pop song, 6/8 or 3/4. And the songs somehow got to Kelly's A&R by accident, and they listened to it, and they were like, oh, this is great. And we're like, well, wait, it's for Mark, but that's okay. Keep it.
And then and then what about Move You? Like, was it once you know, she heard Slow Dance, she wanted to get in the room with you, or like, how did that one come about?
Move You, we flew out to Nashville and wrote for about 4 days, me, Molly, and Nick. And Kelly was there at the studio, and there were about 3 or 4 groups of us, I think, writing, and she would kind of come into the room and listen and, you know, tell us if she liked something right away or if there were certain lines and things that she wasn't feeling. But Move You, Molly sang the demo, we had it all out, and Kelly came in and listened to it, and she was like, oh, I'll cut this tomorrow. And we were like, holy shit, okay.
Wow. Yeah.
But I still have like, I still have the voice memos of like when she was trying out the different like melodies and things, like, I want to move, you like that? When she did that, and everybody was like, oh my God. And, like, it was just like, that's it. I'm kind of a creep. I have zero shame.
Or is it more so just like working with people that you've been, you know, a fan of for a long time, and you finally get, you know, to be alongside them, and you're like, okay, like this is it. I wonder if it's this like taste of a feeling of like, okay, I'm getting there. Like I've made it in some sense from where you've started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, hearing Kelly Clarkson, like, sing words that I wrote was just like, it's unlike any experience. I can't even explain it. It's just such a relief almost. It's just like, okay, like I'm not crazy. Like I can do this. This is a thing. Like I can do this.
And what is your, like, what's your approach when it comes to writing? Do you have a particular process, or is it case by case basis?
It's case by case, but I try not to bring in, I mean, this might change at some point, but I try not to bring in preconceived concepts, just because sometimes the emotional weight I might put on something isn't the same as like how other people are going to feel about it in the room. So I try to just show up like ready to expand on a concept that comes up organically. And for me, like, that's a lot more exciting because then everyone is involved with it being worked out. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No,
but
it does.
I do this thing called webbing where like somebody will bring in a concept, say like high heels or something, and I'll put high heels in the middle of the page, and then from that draw an actual like spider's web of all the things that apply to that one concept. High heels, like ladies, high heels, dancing, high heels, stilettos, and then I just sort of branch out from all those different things, and there's ways to like sort of work your way into the concept. And I started doing that when I was homeschooled my whole life, and my mom really pushed creative writing with me. And that was one of the techniques I used as a kid for creative writing. But I like that excitement when somebody's like, oh, what about this? And then everyone organically in the room like, oh my gosh, what about this? What about this? Instead of just being like, I have this concept, and then expecting everyone to jump on board and feel the same way about it.
Right. So it's more so collaborative, like brainstorming.
Yeah.
To see where that leads to.
I love that.
Is that a similar approach, or do you think the latter is more common, where it's like one idea and people tend to go with that?
It really depends. I mean, I know I've been in sessions where people will have like books of just concepts and they'll just read down. I think that might be a genre thing, like maybe country music, for instance, is a little bit more like that. I'm not sure. And I've shown up to sessions before where I do feel ill prepared because they'll be like, well, what do you have? Like, what did you bring? And I'm like, I didn't bring anything. I was ready to just like kind of go with it. And so it just depends on the situation. I think a lot of people, I mean, if I think of a really killer concept, I'll keep it and I'll save it and I'll try to bring it up This is a secret. I'll try to pretend like I just thought of it. Then I have to act like, oh, what about this? And then people are like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, and I don't tell them I was thinking about it for months and months. So it's all about the delivery. I have to act really surprised with myself.
Yeah. And so I want to get into your solo career, because you recently released some songs, I know. And has that felt like a transition, or, are you still writing for others but also performing on your own? What has that experience been like?
I've been performing a lot of the songs that I've written with other people that haven't gotten cut. And breaking the song down to play live, it really tests a song. And so I've been learning that there's a lot of lines that are throwaway lines that I like live I wouldn't want to sing, just because it wouldn't keep the audience, it wouldn't keep people listening. So I've been able to kind of go through my songs and pick the strongest ones and then dissect those and rewrite lyrics to them, so that if I were to sing it live, I wouldn't be embarrassed, or I wouldn't feel like I had to rush because people were losing interest. And it's really, I didn't expect that to happen, but it's really caused me to take a second look. If things don't get cut, I'm always like, well, why didn't it get cut? What's the problem? And then that's just an ego thing. But then, looking into it more, I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's not very strong. This needs to strengthen and this needs to strengthen. And stripping things down and playing them live, it really tests how good the song actually is. And so that's kind of what I've been doing.
And you currently have a residency at the Hotel Cafe, right, in LA?
I do, yes.
And what else is next? What else can we look out for?
I'm going to be releasing an EP April 5th. I'm releasing singles up to that date.
Okay.
And then I'm hoping to just keep releasing music, keep releasing songs. And some of the songs I've been writing just for me. Some of them are songs that I've written with other people that are weirdly personal to me, and kind of I felt like my personality bled through a little bit more. And then I just hit those people up that I wrote them with, and is it okay if I release this and change a few things? And people are usually pretty stoked about it, or they're have positive feedback. Yeah, I used to be really scared of performing live. I had really bad I still do. I have really terrible stage fright. And I think some of writing for other artists was a way of making an excuse to not perform. And so I've really had to force myself to do it. But it's afterwards, it's great. People are like, you're so happy after a performance. I'm like, well, I didn't die. And that's great. I feel great because I didn't die.
I'm still breathing.
Yeah, I for an hour I was not dying, so I feel great because I'm still here. And I'm doing it sober, which is new. I that's another thing. Before, I've been sober for 4 years, and that's when I started writing for other people, and when I started really kind of I don't know, it completely changed my life. And so yeah, performing sober is a different animal for sure. And it's you're really thinking about the songs. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I didn't think I would ever start performing again, but it hasn't been life threatening.
Is there
I don't think.
Is there any advice that you would have, let's say, to an aspiring artist or songwriter who, let's say, they just moved to LA, or they just moved away from home and they're trying to figure it out and get started? Is there anything that you've learned along the way that you wish you would have known sooner?
That's tricky. I'd say don't drink. It's hard because it really depends on the case. I would say yes to everything in the beginning. I know some people would argue with that and say be picky, like, you know, only take things that are worth your time. But in the beginning, you really don't know what's worth your time yet. I'd say yes to everything and understand that you're not going to make money off the bat. I think a lot of people expect that a year or two in, they'll be fine financially and they can make a living doing what they're doing. But that hasn't been the case for me. So, like, don't expect to get instant gratification. And it's a long game. I've been doing this for 14 years now. And I still love it. Surprise. I still love it. And it still makes me really happy, and it still gives me that high of, like, you know, when I write a really good song with someone and I hear them cut it, or like after a show, like there's little things that you can get highs from that are just worth the time, that are worth the struggle. And some people, you know, some people get lucky right off the top and things go extraordinarily well. But I think, I mean, be willing to get in it for the long game and expect that. And then if things happen quickly, you'll be pleasantly surprised.
And one more question for you. So the album's called Meaning of Life. This is probably a big one, but what would you say, at least for you, the meaning of life is?
The meaning of life. Oh gosh. Well, I'm gonna get all like sappy, but
no, it's fine.
You know, since being sober, I definitely have. So I've gotten in touch with like my higher power, which I've learned is different, I think, than the religious aspect that I grew up with. It's completely different. It's not that, and not kicking that, but that's not for me. I think the meaning of life is just getting in touch with that and being in tune with that and letting that speak through you. Because I don't think inspiration is ours. I think inspiration, and I read this too, and I believe it, in this book, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Inspiration is just everywhere. It's not in us, but we can grab it from time to time. And she said, like, you know, Moonlight Sonata had been floating around for a long time before Beethoven snatched it and was able to put it out. And I believe there are songs and there are ideas that are just everywhere, and we're all so busy trying to work them out that we forget to just kind of receive it, because it's there and it has nothing to do with us. All we have to do is do the work so that when it comes, we have the tools necessary to build it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's been my biggest realization over the past couple of years. And I live for that. So I would say that's the meaning of my life.
Awesome. Thank you so much for...
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always.
You're tall, dark, and handsome. You're charming and then so